Hi, guys. Thanks for coming back to another session of the CCNA journey. So we left off on chapter 10, which is chapter 10 is going over learning rapid spanning tree and Etherchannel through configuration. Okay. So we spoke about rapid spanning tree. We spoke in the last session, we actually spoke about port fast and BPDU guard and root guard a bit and what have you. You guys already understood port states and port roles as it pertains to spanning tree, right? Um, the goal is to go ahead and block ports, right? And then set up the forwarding logic so that it's a loop-free topology. Okay. So with that being said, um, now we can go ahead and move on to one of the concepts that was introduced in chapter 9, right? Within, of course, chapter 9 being spanning tree protocol concepts. Um, this is a concept of what we call a ether channel. Okay. Um, and basically, of course, Etherchannel is a logical link between two neighboring switches, right? And again, they can have multiple parallel links. And it was introduced within the STP concepts chapter because typically, right, if we have multiple physical links connected through two neighboring switches, spanning tree would go ahead and activate, right? And when I say activate, I mean it would go ahead and perform convergence and its algorithm and say, hey, I need to go ahead and make sure from a forwarding logic standpoint, there's only one way of flowing traffic. So I need to block some ports so that we don't have a loop. Okay. So with that being said, um, Ether channel made it a way to where we can go ahead and increase the load of bandwidth, right, between two neighboring switches, right? Um, by creating a logical bundle of links, right? And that logical bundle, right, is not affected by spanning tree, meaning we can have multiple physical links, and they're not affected by being blocked by spanning tree, what have you. Okay. So with that being said, again, the goal here is to learn ether channel through configuration. So let's go ahead and do just that. By the way, right? You guys are preparing for the exam, right? I want to go ahead and touch on, synonyms or what have you in regards to ether channel, right? Ether channel can be, it's synonymous to, oh, give me one second. Um, oh, there we go. Um, hold on. Give me one
Uh,
second. Okay. So it looks like synonyms, right? Synonyms for ether channel can be described as one, a ether channel, right? It also can be described as a port channel, right? That's what you'll actually see on a switch, or it can be described as a channel group. Okay. But again, we're going to go through this via configuration, right? We're first going to touch on how to configure an ether channel manually, okay, or statically, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to do that between switch one and switch two. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull that up, right? So pull up switch one and let's go ahead and pull up switch two. Okay. There we go. And then pull up switch one. Let's move that over there. There we go. All right. Awesome. Okay. And let's take a look at this configuration. Let's see if there's anything on the interface just yet. Okay, so we have, of course, this is when we're doing our example of port fast and BPDU guard. So we can go ahead and erase that. That's no problem. Let's go ahead and check. Now we know what we need to do on this switch. Let's go ahead and check switch two. Okay. Okay. Switch two doesn't have any configuration. Excellent. And this is what we need to. So let's go ahead. First, I'm going to go ahead and leave privilege exec mode and go to global configuration mode and go ahead and default the interfaces. How can I do that? Go ahead and type the keyword default. Well, excuse me. And then we're going to do interface range, right? Because I want to hit a whole bunch of interfaces. We're going to do, right, 0 all the way to 3. Okay. And I think it only affected those, but just to be safe, let's do one. Awesome, right? So let's go ahead and check our work. We can check our work without leaving global configuration mode by typing the keyword do, and we do a show run. Yeah. And of course, typing in do gives us the ability to go ahead and enter in commands that we can only type in privilege exec mode, and it would populate it while in another mode, whether it be an interface configuration mode or global configuration. So went ahead and checked it. There is no configuration on those interfaces. So we are good to go. All right. So let's go ahead. Of course, I'm old school. I use putty, right? Remember, guys, just to show my age, let's go ahead. There we go. All right. So let's all right. So first, we're gonna go ahead and set up a static ether channel, right? So first, and we're gonna use just gigabit 0/0 or gigabit 0/0 on both switch one and switch two. So first, I need to go to the interface. Okay. So we're gonna do the interface gigabit/0, right? And then what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I need to go ahead and type the keyword channel, right? Group. Okay. All right. And so, right, it's going to go ahead and give me the option, right, to type in a number, or I can put auto for LACP. We touched on the theory of LACP, right? That is a dynamic ether channel topology, right? But we're not going to get there just yet, right? So we're going to go ahead and put one. We're going to assign this ether channel to just number one, right? And we're going to say mode, right? Oops. Mistype, sorry about that, mode, and it gives us plenty of options, right? We have ways to set up an ether channel, of course, using the Cisco proprietary PAGP, right, or PAGP, right? Okay, and we also have the option to set up, right, ether channel using the industry, one of the industry's open protocols, LACP. Okay, what we're trying to do, right, and I want you guys to remember this for the exam. We are trying to set up ether channel statically or manually, right? And that requires us to just use the keyword on. Okay. All right. So let's do that. All right. We're going to type on. Excellent. All right. So that's went ahead and got configured. Okay. All right. So that's done. Right. So now, of course, we need to go ahead and do this on the same side. Right. So same thing. Interface gigabit 0/0. We confirmed our interfaces. And let's do the same thing. Right. So channel group. Okay, one. Now, keep in mind, guys, for the exam, the number is only unique to the local switch. It doesn't have to match the other side. So I can have channel group two or three over here, but it could be channel group one over there. It's still going to go ahead and perform what it needs to do from a protocol level. Okay, so let's do channel group one mode, right? On. Okay. All right. So we went ahead and we performed, right? We went ahead and set that up. And we actually have to, what I didn't do is configure, it said it has a trunk. So let's go ahead and do that as well. Switch port trunk. And again, these are old switches, right? I'm going to go ahead and fix that, right? And we set the ether channel has a trunk, okay? Switch port mode trunk. There we go. All right, let's do that here as well. Um, Switch port trunk, encapsulation dot one Q. And of course, you see it going down because there is this ideology of order of operations. I should have created the trunk first, then did the channel. So I do apologize about that. We'll do that on the next on between switch one and switch three. But I just wanted to show you guys the configuration first, right? So we went ahead and set that, right? And it looks like those interfaces are up, but let's go ahead, right? We always want to take the concept of trust but verify. Okay. So let's get out of privilege exec mode. Okay. And you know what? We can actually stay here because we need to go ahead and do some work here. So let's do show. And you know what? Because I actually have to use a question mark. Let's go ahead and let's go back to privilege exec mode. Show ether channel. Okay. And let's do summary. Okay. Awesome. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and blow this up, right? So we can go ahead and see it, right? So let's reset the terminal so it doesn't have a whole bunch of mess. Okay, awesome. Right. So we can see here, right? The show ether channel summary shows us our channel groups that are in use, okay, that we set up, right? It actually shows us the ports as well that we're using, right? So there's a lot of things here, right? We have flags, right? And what do those flags mean? Those flags, right, are used here to indicate the functioning operation of the port channel, okay? So let's break this down, right? Group one, right? This is the number that we gave the channel group, right? So we gave it one, right? Under port channel, right? It's of course it's port channel, and again one, right? And it's correlating to, right, the group number. Okay. Now we have SU. What does that mean? Well, let's go ahead and go to our index, right? Go to the letter S, right? So S states that it's telling us this is an ether channel, but it's at layer two, right? And then the U is telling us it is in use, right? So you guys being CCNA candidates, right? Whenever you see a port channel and it says SU, that is something that if your design, your architects, or if you are in charge of designing the network, this is what you want to see in your lab. This is what you want to see in your environment to make sure this port channel is operating at layer two and is absolutely in use. Okay. Ports, right? Of course, we configured only gigabit 0/0, but under ports, we will see all the ports that'll pop up, right? We would go over port protocol, but of course, we're not going to go ahead and touch it within the CCNA. This is not anything that'll be on the exam, right? Next to ports, I want to go back to here, right? We have P, right? If we go up to P, what is it telling us? It is telling us gigabit 0/0 is bundled in the port channel. It is included in this port channel. Okay. All right. So that's what you see. We can do the same thing on switch two. Okay. We can do a show ether channel summary. Same thing, right? So we expect to see the same thing, right? What does it look like on the wire, right? Um, Even though, right, you guys don't need to actually see what's on the wire, I want you guys to envision, to getting used to, and of course, I'm not sure what labs you guys have. Of course, pack, you know, the free software that it can't come to mind right now, but the free software that, and feel free to type it, that free software, but the free software that Cisco provides, it is a great starting out tool. You guys being CCNA candidates, that's probably going to go ahead and go towards your CCNP. You want to go ahead and work on getting live gear, whether that be donated or you purchase them, just so you can get in the habit of, or a home lab, right, that does some virtualization, so you can go ahead and get in the habit of seeing, um, you can go ahead and actually get in the habit of seeing how the traffic is flowed via layer two and layer three, right? Layer two, we have a lot of protocols. Right now, we're working with dynamic trunking protocol, right, and what have you, and a bunch of other protocols. You guys need to go ahead and see how this operates so it can make sense, right? We spoke about spanning tree, right? And you guys can see, right? We can see those BPDUs being sent, right? Let's go ahead and take a look at, do we see any traffic from DTP? Yes, we do, right? We see that traffic popping up and rolling, okay? All right, so let's go ahead, and this is how it looks whenever we're going ahead, and you guys see that as well, right? We're seeing that traffic pass through. We see a lot of things here, right? We see the device ID, we see the software version, right? It's giving you a lot of information. And these are things that you truthfully want to understand how it looks like, how it works, so that the theory that you read aren't just words that you're reading. It's actually what's happening within the switch, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do dynamically set up an ether channel between switch one and switch three. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull up switch three. Okay, and what we're going to do I'm going to go ahead and do a capture switch 3 gigabit 1. Yeah, let's close that, blow that up. Okay, what we're going to do something similar. Okay, all right, so let's let that go. Awesome. Let's go to switch 1. Awesome. So what I'm going to do differently here, you guys already saw the lab. We're going to go ahead and configure, right, a dynamic ether channel, right? But we're going to do it while the packet capture is going. And you guys go ahead and see what's going on in the background, right? And we're capturing from the standpoint of switch 3, right? Gigabit 0/1, right? So let's go ahead and clean this up, right? First, let's go ahead and do switch 1, right? Let's do interface gig 0/1. And then we're going to do it right this time, right? Switch port trunk encapsulation dot 1Q. We have to do this on the old switches because we have to identify the difference between what type of encapsulation the trunk is going to do. Is it going to do 802.1Q encapsulation, right? Where it's tagging in a certain type of way, or we're going to do ISL. Very old technology, but of course, I'm going ahead and defaulting to .1Q. And then with this, of course, with this type of switch, when we go ahead, after we do that, then set the mode to be trunk. Okay. All right. So we set that, right? That's set up. Of course, you guys can see on the left side, as soon as I set it to trunk, we started getting tons of dynamic trunking protocol packets. I'm sorry, frames. I apologize, right? We're at layer 2. So we're talking about frames. So we've got a whole bunch of that pop up. Now what we're focused on is we want to go ahead and configure a dynamic ether channel. So let's go ahead and do that, right? And again, um, since you guys are going to go into the real world and probably work on things other than Cisco, we're going to go ahead and use the open standard, which is LACP. Okay, so let's go ahead and do channel group, right? Same thing. We're going to call it 2 because we already named 1 to the static channel mode, right? And so again, we're going to do LACP. And what you guys remember, okay? Active enables LACP unconditionally, meaning it is listening, but it's also initiating the ether channel. If we just do passive, what happens? Passive, it's waiting to hear, right? It's waiting to go ahead and hear an initiator or the other switch sending packets of LACP to go ahead and start negotiating. If both sides are passive, we will never have an ether channel that dynamically gets configured. So what I like to do, let's go ahead and just set up both as active, okay? All right, so we got that set, right? And what you guys see, what we see right here, we see an LACP frame that popped up, okay? Let's go back to switch 1 and switch 3, okay? Right? What did we see here? Now we see line protocol on interface gigabit 0/1 change state to down, right? Suspended LACP is currently not enabled on the remote port. You guys will get this if this is not configured on your other switch, right? And it's just going to show like this until you go ahead and configure LACP on the other one, right? So let's go ahead and knock this out, right? So interface gig 0/1, right? Switch port trunk encapsulation .1Q, right? We're going to see a whole bunch of DTP traffic, right? Same as before. Switch port mode trunk, boom. See a whole bunch of DTP traffic, right? Now, last but not least, right? Channel group. And like I told you guys, we're going to go ahead and test it out here. The numbers don't need to be the same, right? So we never set up an ether channel on switch 3. So we're going to call this one, right? Channel group 1. But on switch 1, it's channel group 2, right? We're going to say mode and we're going to say active because we're going to go ahead and make sure that it will dynamically, right, go ahead and initiate and listen for LACP packets to go ahead and create the ether channel. Let's do active. Let's do that. Let's see what happens. Whole bunch of things just happen, right? We see a whole bunch of LACP packets. We see a lot of CDP frames as well. And I'm sorry, LACP frames as well, right? Once we saw that, something changed. Port channel 2 from switches 1's perspective came up, right? And that's the reference for the port channel, right? Or the ether channel between switch 1 and switch 3, right? Same thing, right? Same thing on switch 3, right? Port channel, port channel 1, right? The reference for switch 3 has came up. Okay. All right. So that's what you guys need to know and understand for the exam, right? There are things that you need to understand as well before I let you guys go for the exam, right? There's a list of items that you guys need to go ahead and check. And again, I like typing, I like writing. I'm old school. I like writing down on a piece of paper. There are things that you need to make sure that your switch, that your configuration for your ether channel checks off before you start configuring and putting in an environment, right? So your ether channel, and you need to know this for the exam. What needs to match before they become, right? Before they come to a state of up is the speed needs to match on both sides. Duplex needs to match on both sides. Okay. And here's a tricky one. The operational status needs to be either an access state or a trunking state. Here's what I mean. It's either all the ports, okay? All the ports. And you know what? Let me go ahead and bring the book over here so you guys can actually see it. Right? Let me go ahead and zoom in. All the ports need to be either access ports, okay, or they need to be trunks. It can't be some of your links within your ether channel, or some of them are access ports, some of them are trunks. All of them need to be one or the other. Okay, right? If it is an access port within your ether channel, set the access VLAN, right? If your ether channel, right, is a trunk port, make sure you configure the allowed VLAN list to be all the same on all links. Okay. All right. And you do this by, of course, the switch port trunk allowed command. Okay. So test that in your lab. All right. And it's okay to break things in your lab as well, guys. Last but not least, and this is the most very important part. If you have an ether channel and it's set up as a trunk, okay, make sure the native VLAN matches on both sides. Okay. All right. From a network security standpoint, of course, Cisco recommends, they typically don't recommend that much. They recommend that you do not, right, leave the native VLAN to be VLAN 1 on the switch, right? Um, just to show you guys an example, okay? This is what it looks like whenever we set up a ether channel between two switches, and we have what we call a native VLAN mismatch, okay? So once you go ahead and you may go ahead and configure, hey, switchboard trunk native VLAN 21. So you set the VLAN from the default VLAN 1 to another VLAN. You're going to go ahead and get this, right? Ether channel EC, right? And then we'll get it's a level 5 notification. Cannot bundle, right? So we cannot create the ether channel. Why? Right? So this interface is not compatible with that interface and will be suspended. All right. Native VLAN of gigabit module 10/21 is 21, and your remote is VLAN 1. Okay, the interface, the ether channel is going to go ahead and come down, and again, here's what you'll see. Right, and I love that Cisco took a screenshot of this. Right, you show the show ether port, show ether channel port channel. Right, this is a different command that you guys will see. Right, you'll see that it'll show you the number of ports that's a part of the ether channel, but it'll show you time since last port was bundled. This is a very great command to keep in your back pocket. And the time since last port unbundled, right here, right? So it stopped being a part of the ether channel this long ago. Very great command to go ahead and troubleshoot. If you have a flapping link, maybe it's you have a fiber ether channel and you need to go ahead and troubleshoot to see what's happening, right? You can do that by using this command, okay? For the CCNA exam, you do need to go ahead and make sure you memorize, right? Or at least remember some of these show commands, okay? Um, Last but not least, again, let me go ahead and show you guys because this isn't going to be on the exam where you're quizzed on, but you guys, of course, are going to. I expect you guys to go after your CCNP, so you will need to know about it. Is Etherchannel load distribution, right? And of course, this section is very important, but I recommend if you're somebody that likes details, dive into the CCNP or CCIE version um, of this breakdown, or there's a video on my channel that Claude, one of the architects, one of the networking architects that I know, great guy, he breaks this down in a beautiful way in terms of how it's breaking down XOR, right? So from a CCNA level, you'll go ahead and see the book is showing you the forwarding logic and how either channel load distribution is happening, right? And of course, this table is going to go ahead and show you, of course, different types of load distribution methods, right? And it doesn't do justice, and this is where I disagree with the CCNA book. It doesn't do justice that the CCNA doesn't explain what XOR is, what it does, because all you're just seeing here is just, hey, we're going to go at the algorithm that's being used in the forwarding logic is a based on it's going to look up via based on the source MAC address, destination MAC address, etc. But it won't make sense, right? Unless you take a look at the XOR video. So you guys homework, take a look at the XOR video, and you guys will go ahead and be able to take a look at that. Okay. So with that being said, you guys are done with chapter 10. Okay. So please review it, please go over it, and we will go ahead and start. We'll do a review on the next section. Um, but then we'll go ahead and jump on chapter 11. Okay. Proceeding the section after that. You guys have a great day.
All right, thanks, Dave.
No problem.